All right, hi everyone. Welcome to hi everyone. My name is Sam. I'm from Impact Policy, and if you're watching this, you're here to understand the update, the interim update around our progress with regards to the Healing Circles project. Before we go any further, I want to take a moment to acknowledge country. This video has been recorded on Bidjigal country, so I want to pay my deepest respects to our elders here, both past and present. I want to recognise that wherever you're watching this from, I pay respects to the country that you're on today as well, and recognise that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land, and that it was never ceded by treaty. So this session is a interim overview on the progress of the work that we've been doing on the Healing Circles concept. We've been working closely with the Coroners Court, Department of Communities and Justice in New South Wales, and it's just an overview of the summary for the engagement, consultation, and I guess our recommendations for where we go to from here. So who we are, Impact Policy is a social policy consulting firm. We work really closely with the public sector, I guess around all the pieces of the policy puzzle. So CoDesign, consultation, engagement, research and evaluation, and communications are, I guess, our 5 core pillars that we work across that we really believe build strong policy and projects and outcomes for our communities as well. Our 4 core values of Impact Policy are access, equity, inclusion and justice, and we embed them in everything we do in terms of project design and implementation, and also in terms of the work that we really try and engage in and partner with people to deliver as well. At Impact Policy, we really champion co-design. So co-design is a big part of our method in terms of how we do what we do. And you can just see a short piece of that here that we talk to in a little bit more detail in terms of how that is reflected in the work that we've done today. But, really 5 key principles or pieces of that outcomes framework for how we do co-design in terms of what that looks as well. So if you're not familiar with the Healing Circle project, it's a big part of what you might be seeking to try and understand is why this piece of work exists, why it came about. And really it came about because staff in the inquest team identified a real need, and they developed this concept, their professional experience around the need for an opportunity to try and reimagine how resources could be designed so that they could support families to better have agency, access, and a voice throughout the inquest journey that is really culturally appropriate, it's trauma-informed, and supported by Aboriginal professionals and, where appropriate, the broader Aboriginal community. So staff identified the need for that. It was supported broadly across DCJ as a concept, but given the sensitivity of space that this operates within, it was really critical for such a piece of work like this to start with really strong communication, engagement, consultation, and relationship building, particularly with our stakeholders that have an inquest experience, and to really seek support and validation for this concept from our people as something that would really add value, as opposed to this just being developed in isolation of any consultation with our communities with an actual lived experience of these systems as well. So with that, Impact Policy in 2024 commenced consultation around this concept referred to as Healing Circles. So we talked about the impetus of this coming from staff within the coronial space, identifying what they believed was a need. Before we even commenced consultation, though, there was further investment in evidence for the concept. So the team engaged Vanessa Edwidge. Vanessa Edwidge is a registered psychologist. She's the chair of the Australian Indigenous Psychologists Association. And Vanessa delivered this report based on her research into this concept, based on her experience in terms of her psychological background and her work within this sort of space with our people as well. One of the core quotes here is that whilst it is acknowledged that healing circles may not entirely heal families and individuals, they may, however, contribute to minimising deleterious impacts of such overwhelming grief through the ability to share their story, be listened to, and acknowledged for the harm that has been caused. This, in my opinion, is the first step in the journey of healing and a strong therapeutic outcome. So a big part of Vanessa's work was in reinforcing the concept to test. It was providing sort of that empirical independent support that the idea for healing circles is something that could add value. A cultural lens could be really critical for our people, and reinforced as well that the need for spaces that are culturally safe and accessible is a really, really critical part of the journey for our people going through an inquest journey. So when we came on board, impact policy is well regarded for our work around CoDesign. We're really committed to embedding that in terms of everything that we do across a project life cycle. And in this instance, that looked like a range of different things. So traditionally, when people come in and do consultation and engagement, generally, an external team like impact policy would predetermine the engagement structure and tick off against that and deliver their report at the end. We commenced this work, and we really even tried to make sure that our engagement strategy and approach was co-designed as best as we could through consultation with our people around what would be most appropriate. So we came in with a bit of an idea around how we would structure engagement based on, regional, rural, urban representation of voices. And then we were guided by participation in terms of how that looked. So we had a few different methods for participation: online surveys, face-to-face consultation, family and group workshops. And it was through those, particularly the online survey, in terms of the first mode for participation, communication and registration, that we were able to really identify and respond to where and how consultation should happen based on that feedback, as opposed to traditionally, sometimes consultation strategies and approaches are developed in isolation of the communities they intend to actually consult with, and spaces or locations are predetermined, times are predetermined, and sometimes participation can be a bit grey. So we really wanted to try and strip that back, try and get as much data as we could from the forefront, try and build as strong as relationships as we could with our people, and let that determine how best we deliver our engagement approach for this piece of work. So we talk about, when we talk about, you got this little pie chart here that sort of talks about, the significant effort CoDesign takes, because it's that preparation for the sessions that we've done. The sessions that we've done with our people have been really heavy, and we have to hold space for people to be able to share what that inquest experience has been like, including the loss of their loved ones and what that experience meant for them. And through that, to test and understand this concept for healing circles as if it could have been something that could have added value. The effort to hold space and prepare for doing that work in the most trauma-informed and culturally safe way is a real representation in that this short pie graph here above my face, in terms of the workshop is such a small part of the actual effort, time and care that goes into preparing for and holding space for those consultations. So I want to acknowledge the team that led a lot of that consultation and engagement work, particularly Sean McCarthy, who held space for many of our people to share their stories around their coronial inquest experiences as well, and the time and care and effort it took for him to be able to get there and to hold that space too. This builds on what we talked about a little bit earlier in our intro session around CoDesign, so I won't spend a massive amount of time on this, but really, I guess a big part of what you're watching now is an example of what we talk about when we talk about being iterative and being participative. And, we've got this presentation, we've got the interim report, they're available on our central communications page. And we've built that into the final stage of this project as an opportunity for our people to be able to speak back, or for our people who haven't had a chance to have their voice heard yet, be able to see how this work's being represented, and for us to be able to hold some time in there should they feel safe and supported enough to be able to participate, to be able to have their voice heard. We call this the speaking back part of the final phase, and we believe that it's critical for the integrity of projects that are in sensitive environments like this, but particularly alongside our communities, that we build in space for our people to be able to be more participative, that our work is iterative, and that our engagement isn't just a transaction. We communicate back the impact of that relationship and space that we've held with our people, and we seek support. We seek endorsement for what we've heard and how we've communicated that. We believe that that's best practice. We believe that's acting with integrity. And we're really proud to put that into our ways of working and this work in terms of where we're at the moment. So I've talked a little bit to our approach, and so these are probably 5 of those sort of core pieces of that method. The first being that we've really tried to embed everything that we've been doing across this piece of work. We've been trauma informed and doing no further harm. So that was represented through a slower, more flexible engagement process that was really guided by our people. It's semi-structured consultations. They were semi-structured from a yarning perspective, where we really just held space for people to have a voice around their coronial experience. And it was through that yarn and that space that we held that we were able to try and understand this concept and test this concept of healing circles, and to understand if it would have been seen to have added value or to have been a benefit for them or their families. Genuine co-design has been critical for this. So not just using that language of co-design, really looking at each stage of this project journey, how we can co-design, co-create, co-produce outcomes along this project life cycle as well. So I talked a little bit earlier around what our engagement strategy looked like and how we tried to embed co-design principles and how that was created. And we used our online survey and web page as a critical sort of central point for communication to be able to have a voice in that work. Most of our face-to-face work was done through online interviews, one-to-one. And I think luckily we have access to tech that can facilitate that for most of our, and surprisingly that was the method that many people wanted to participate in as well. So we were available to be able to travel, to be able to meet with people face to face, to be able to do that work. For many, just to be able to connect online, maybe have that distance physically as well, might have supported access as well, just from that that trauma informed sort of space too. And then we're at this point now where we've drafted the report, and I've talked about the principles of speaking back, sharing power, and also access to data as core principles of how we do what we do at Impact Policy around the integrity of this work as well. So this is our central landing point for this project page. So this is a tab on our Impact Policy au.com webpage that was dedicated to the Healing Circles project. So this became our central point for communication, for access to resources and information, where people could register to participate in our engagement consultations as well. So you'll see that there's 3 sort of circles here. I can't really scroll down the page in this presentation, but they're the 3 different ways that people can register to participate, complete the online survey, register for the upcoming workshops. You can scroll further down and there's a video like this. That's an overview of the project. And then there's also a series of frequently asked questions and access to further resources as well. So this is the central landing page. This is where this video will live. This is where the interim report will live that people can download and access as well, where people can register to participate in this next final phase of consultation or feedback providing around our report that we've written so far as well. So what has the engagement and consultation timeline looked like? So I talked about us commencing this work in February. So February, we launched the landing page and the communications. Our consultations commenced in March. They really continued up till July. We started to transcribe the findings that came off the back of those interviews with the themes that had started to emerge. And then in November, we developed what was our final analysis for the time. We designed the summary presentation and an update and prepared this sort of stuff for where we're at now in terms of communication and next steps. In terms of participation in interviews and surveys, we've had 20 total participants participate in our consultation interviews and surveys. And we've had over 94 people participate in our online project and concept information sessions. And I guess a bit of a breakdown of the demographics of some of those participants. We've had family members. We've had those directly impacted by the loss of a loved one. We've had professionals working in the sector. We've had legal reps, community orgs and specialists. We've had Department of Communities and Justice staff. We've had the broader community sector. We've had our elders have a voice, and those that have experienced the loss of extended family and understanding of the inquest process more broadly as well. So in terms of the support for concept and emerging themes, these are some of the key things that have came up as a result of this. I guess really the core thing to take away that we believe, based on the work that we've done so far, is that the design of a Healing Circles pilot has been supported through the consultations that we've been doing. Further themes that have emerged, though, for them although out of scope of the main purpose of this engagement, they're still relevant and they've been communicated here for further consideration. So, the concept of healing circles has been reported by participants as considered culturally appropriate, primarily because it gives Aboriginal families agency and influence, provides for more therapeutic opportunities for families, and allow them to opportunities to question the process. Now, I'm going to read through each of the sort of themes that have come out. You can access this summary report from the central page. You can download and look at that in more detail as well. But just this is a quote up here in the corner from one of our participants. And she said, "But to dehumanize the journey of death is cruel piece. And to have a space that not only I can step in as the key advocate, but I get to bring my family and kin with me, that could be powerful." And for me, I wanted to include that there because I really thought that was a powerful quote that really centered some of the key principles around the investment in this pilot, in this concept, and what we've heard about our people's feeling of a lack of a voice, of a sense of agency, a sense of support to be able to advocate for their loved ones. The idea that we could build something like this that could provide space for that has the potential to be really significant for our people. So I want to hold space for those words for a family member who's been through that journey and to center them when we talk about this support for the concept and the emerging themes that are here as well. And so now we're into the final recommendations. So recommendation 1 is that we co-design a proposed structure and prototype for concept to be piloted in the coronial inquest process. Further community consultation should occur once this has been co-designed with Aboriginal participants with lived experience personally or professionally. So we really believe we're at a great stage now where we can take the investment in relationship building, consultation and engagement as part of seeking, support for this concept, and really build on that in terms of where we go to from now with co-designing the pilot. There are participants that we've engaged with that we believe would be really supportive of being part of a group that supported the co-design of what Healing Circle may look like. And so we believe we're at a really great stage, because what great co-design looks like is this really critical piece at the forefront where you're championing communication, engagement, and relationship building around what you're trying to design together. And that's exactly what we've really done in this first phase around concept testing and seeking support for, is we've really championed those 3 critical pieces. So I think we've really set ourselves up well for embedding what really great co-design looks like when we look at building this pilot. Recommendation 2 is that we, really consider different names and titles for the concept, include this in the co-design process. So a lot of people came back with the language around healing, feeling like they didn't think it was very appropriate, given just the traumatic base and understanding of the limitations or scope of what a concept like this could really achieve. Many people talked about the need to resource a digital platform to host a network of families with lived experience, and that the design of this concept could serve as an impetus for communications with Aboriginal families throughout its progress and design. Establish a law reform process in relation to the Coroners Act that ensures that Aboriginal families are consulted during this process to help understand reform that is informed from lived experience. 5, amend the next of kin process and protocol to align with Aboriginal culture. And 6, to increase funding and resources to the Aboriginal Coronial Information and Support Program, with investment and support into existing staff that have been reported consistently across participants as critical to the coronial inquest process for Aboriginal families. And I think we couldn't speak to that more highly enough. That was a significant thread across everybody that we spoke to with regards to how critical those roles are in terms of being able to support our people and our families on their journeys as well. So with that, we're in our final phase now. If you are an Aboriginal person with lived experience personally or professionally of the inquest process, and you would love to have your voice heard around any of the stuff that we've talked about here so far today, or if you would like to talk about your inquest experience, and for us to be able to try and understand if a concept like healing circles may or may not have been something that could add value to that, then please, we'd really encourage you to reach out to our team and reach out directly to Sean McCarthy. He's a proud Kumbanga Bunjalung man. He's Director of Research and Strategy at Impact Policy, and his details are here as well in the slide deck too. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this update. This is a really critical and sensitive piece of work. It's really innovative for the public sector in terms of how we think about these systemic processes that can cause for our people, and how we can start to reimagine designing something better together. So thank you so much. Thank you.